So if you look at how Uber changed the taxi game and everything else that's kind of followed that, we think there has to be an easier way to get consumers educated, engaged, vetted, and into seats without having to put all the burden on the providers to do it all.
Hello and welcome back to the Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. And today is no exception. Today I get the chance to interview Nick Magruder for the second time on the program. He is now heading up an entirely different business, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Grant. So good to be here for the second time. It's truly an honor.
It's great to have you. You're a veteran.
I know. I feel like the world's changed a couple times since we sat in here and chatted it up, I think, all the way back to episode 10. So congrats on all the progress.
Thank you very much.
The podcast is amazing.
So thank you very much. And I want to go back a little bit for those who didn't have the pleasure to meet you the first time, okay? So first of all, you live in Kansas City, correct?
I do.
And did you fly in tonight, or when did you come in?
I flew in yesterday.
And
got in late last night. Tried to make the most of a Mother's Day at home, and took the last flight in and battled through a little bit of adversity in the air. But I'm here and excited to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. Are you going to stay a little time, or are you headed back to Kansas City?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm staying for a couple of days and going to wrap up in Irvine at the end of the week here.
Irvine? Are you going to see our buddy Todd?
I might run into Todd on Wednesday, yes.
Wonderful. Well, give him my regards.
Will do.
That's great. Well, you're here now in the studios in Manhattan Beach for the second time. Before we get to your present adventures, I want to go back a little bit and tell me where you grew up.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a Midwest guy. I grew up in St. Louis in a suburb called Chesterfield, so just west of the city, and went to Parkway Central High School, and had a great childhood in St. Louis, and ended up studying finance at the University of Missouri.
Was that by the Chesterfield Mall?
It was very close to the Chesterfield Mall, yes.
By Lindbergh Street?
Not far from Lindbergh, yes.
So I lived in the Beaujardin Apartments at Lindbergh and Olive in Creve Coeur.
No way.
In my first 4 years med school from 76 to 80, right down Lindbergh from where you lived, right? Because you were at the Chesterfield Mall, and I was down there by Mount Sandho.
A couple miles away.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what years were those?
76 to 80, I was in med school. Now, don't embarrass me. Were you even born?
Well, I'll plead the fifth on that one.
Okay. However, I moved back to the Central West End from 83 to 86, down in the ABC building on Kings Highway. Now, I know you had to be born by then.
Yeah, I was ramping up Little League, I think, during that time. But so I don't know if we ever ran into each other, but
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. But well, great. I didn't know you're a St. Louis guy.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to college? You said
I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri.
Yep. I'll be done. And what was your major?
Studied finance.
And then what was your first job?
First job out of college, I worked for Smith Barney, and actually followed in my father's footsteps. He was in the brokerage business for 25 years and ran a couple branches in St. Louis for Smith Barney, gained my Series 7 license and started to kind of be an understudy under one of the bigger brokers there. And honestly, really thought I would have kind of one job for life. I saw my dad do the same, and things came to kind of a screeching halt with 9/11, and my training class, was canceled. And long story short, I had to kind of reshuffle, and that got me, kind of more aligned into to sales. And so after college, I worked for Smith Barney for a little bit in financial, and then I got into the sales side and actually sold copiers for Sharp Kyocera. One of the best pieces of advice I got early on was, listen, just go out and sell something. Everyone has value if you can sell something and tell a good story. So I got tons of great mentorship as key learnings along the way, and that ended up getting me into the healthcare, medical aesthetics arena that, we've been, working on here for the last 15 years.
So what was the next company you worked for after the photocopy machine?
So I the first medical aesthetic company was Cynosure.
Okay.
And Cynosure, this was like maybe 2005 when, laser hair removal and vascular and smart lipo had just come onto the scene. So, kind of a novel, kind of disruptive way on, treating body sculpting patients. And then not long after that, I was recruited into Reliant Technologies. And that was the infancy of the Fraxel laser, like Fraxel 101, like the blue dye on the face, and really kind of disrupting the laser resurfacing industry on, treating a fraction of the skin and having, tissue, spared in between to help the wound healing process. So I met just a great group of people in leadership and peers that really today I think you'll see in leadership positions all over the industry.
Did you work for Clint in those days?
So once Reliant got acquired by Solta Medical,
right.
That's when I met Clint.
Okay.
So he helped, bring the whole Fraxel and Thermage together.
So before that, did you work for Dennis Condon?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when Dennis first called me about this new thing called Fraxel.
What do you think?
I bought 2 of them. I'm driving out to Palm Springs, sight unseen. I bought 2 of them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fascinating technology.
Yeah, fractionated laser. Never heard of anything like it. But I said, if it works as well as you say, I need a couple of them. So let's go with it. And everything changed.
It did.
And then obviously Clint was there at Reliant, and also when Solta came together, and Thermofrax.
Thermofrax.
Which I coined.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay, so then how long did you stay? Did you stayed with them when it was Solta? I mean, you stayed at Solta for a while?
Yeah, I stayed at Solta for a while, both in sales and sales leadership, all the way through the end until Solta was acquired by Valiant right. Pharmaceuticals.
And did you go with Valiant?
And I went with Valiant and stayed in a sales leadership role for a couple of years. So got to see kind of what Valiant looks like with all these sub brands, and really stemmed a lot of thoughts and aspirations on like, how do you get all these brands to work synergistically together? It's kind of like your Thermofrax idea. How do you, with all these assets, how can you put a formula of 1 + 1 = 3 together to get optimized outcomes? So it was very interesting to see, the injectable business and skincare and the lasers and how they all operate together and how we can all, work together, to ultimately drive, the best value and outcomes for the practices and, best results for the patients.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what did you do after you left Valiant? Is that when you started working with our friends?
Yes. So after Valiant, leaving an organization that had, tens of thousands of employees, to my first really entree into startup and entrepreneurship, and that was FriendMedia. So Bay Area based technology company where we really aim to fix in practice marketing for providers. So we put a solution together that really kind of changed in practice marketing, digitized it, put it onto screens, and made it more video related. And ultimately, our goal was, can we start a conversation with this visiting patient? If we know they're there for Botox and they're interested in looking and feeling their best, what else can we introduce them to without the staff feeling like they're really kind of, having to sell? Mm-hmm. So if we could stimulate that conversation, we found that really the business would follow, that the staff could jump in and they could do what they do best. They can educate, tell them about their experience or their, patients' experiences, and ultimately introduce upsell and cross-sell opportunities.
And how long were you at FriendMedia?
So 5.5 years. And, I was part of a great team, and, really went from 0 to 1 and 1 to 100. And we got industry involved to help us drive distribution. I actually went back to our episode 10 on the flight last night. I think I had mentioned in 2020 sometime when we were in here, I think we had just reached 600 customers, and now the install base has really tripled. I think there are about 2,000 customers under the FriendMedia umbrella. And about a year ago, we brought in a new CEO, Voin Koss, who you know, and Voin has done a tremendous job in really taking FriendMedia to the next level in terms of ad tech. So now with a inventory of all these screens, we're in a great position where the team can now essentially make the service seamless and free to the provider, because the industry is willing to come in and advertise and buy media space, in the network. So it's just a great synergy, allows the doctors to advertise, promote more of what they want to grow, and allows industry to get access to these patients right before they're making decisions about what's next in the continuum of care.
That's fantastic. And didn't they change their name?
Yes. So just recently, the FriendMedia rebranded is vrtly. vrtly.ai is the URL. And vrtly stems from vert as an advertisement. So again, just moving more towards like an ad tech platform, and creating opportunities for industry to have more participation.
So vrtly is the name. How do you spell that again?
vrtly.ai is the URL.
Not V-E-R, just
V-R-T-L-Y, yes.
Okay.
vrtly.
I'll have to check that out. Okay, so are you still part of the board or a consultant for vrtly?
Yeah, so over the last year, I have transitioned into a consulting role and board advisor, so I could start working on some new projects. So I started consulting and working with some new players into medical aesthetics, software, fintech, and some others. But also staying very close to the FriendMedia vrtly team and just making sure that they're in a great place to run and grow the business, which they are. That leads me to, really this new project and, just a whole new frontier on, how we can help grow the aesthetic channel again.
Okay, well, you've certainly been in it a long time. Why don't you share with us the name of this new company that you are a co-founder and the CEO?
Yeah, sure. So I am a co-founder and CEO of a company called TrueAesthetics. And TrueAesthetics, our goal is really to move the industry forward and help digitize the space. So if you look at how Uber changed the taxi game and everything else that's kind of followed that, we think there has to be an easier way to get consumers educated, engaged, vetted, and into seats without having to put all the burden on the providers to do it all.
Okay.
So TrueAesthetics is our overlying parent company, and then we're going to launch our first premium direct-to-consumer brand called TrueNose. And TrueNose is a branded direct-to-consumer procedure for the non-surgical nose job. And it's a very niche treatment category. The results are fantastic. It's life-changing for patients, and it really provides a great alternative to what most consumers are familiar with in terms of options of either do nothing or have rhinoplasty. And there's got to be something in the middle, and growing this non-surgical nose job or liquid rhinoplasty movement, I think, can really do a couple things. One, it can bring more consumers into the space, and then two, it can really set up for a bigger lifetime value for the practice. Our theory is that by focusing on the nose, we can bring in a more diverse patient base, and then we think that this consumer has not yet spent or invested a lot in facial aesthetics. Mm-hmm. So once they have this incredible result with their nose and they feel more confident, then they see the opportunity to invest in proper skincare and maybe other fillers or toxin or skin tightening. Grant, we were talking about this before the show, but the technology of beauty, it's kind of like an MBO or MBA for the industry. And like every Tuesday, there are tons of key learnings that people can pick up about the industry. And you can go back to several episodes and just see all this opportunity. But really, everyone talks about these 65 million consumers that are kind of on the fence and, thinking about having an elective or cosmetic treatment for the first time. So we at TrueAesthetics, and specifically with True Nose, we want to go out and just grab a niche of those customers and do our part to get those people into the industry for the first time. And give them a
how are
great
you going
experience.
to get to them, and what's your model, if you can tell me, even from 40,000 feet, for patient acquisition? Are you actually acquiring the patient and delivering them to the doctors?
Our goal is to do as much of that, to hold or be accountable to as much of that funnel as possible. So first we create the consumer brand, and we drive awareness through social media and YouTube and all these digital avenues, including advertising and ad tech and everything else. And then we bring them into our funnel, and we will have a whole process of educating them. That the consumers can fill out take a quiz to see if they're a candidate. Consumers are taking selfies before and afters and uploading them to our system, so our staff and experts can really kind of analyze, and then over time we'll be serving back via AI technology before and after photos that relate to what what's being seen in the face. So whether it's a wider nose or a asymmetry or whatever we're trying to fix, or even skin type or age, the AI will be able to recognize this and then serve back relevant before and after photos that are in line with what this consumer is looking for. So we have the brand, the education, the before and afters, and we have a whole process of the online consultations. And then the final step is getting them pre-qualified or pre-approved for financing. So, we see great opportunities to partner with financing companies where, the industry for a long time has had this, process where the price isn't really or unveiled until the very end. And you have this kind of like sticker shock. So there's a subset of consumers that they really just want to know, what is it going to cost? Can it be an easy payment? Can I just do this seamlessly in more of a digital fashion? And that's who we're going after. So we can educate, take them through the whole funnel. And by the time they get to you in your office, we think they are highly vetted and, ready for treatment. And they're already pre-approved for up to $4,000 or $5,000 of treatment. And then once it's in the clinician's hands, obviously you still go through the proper protocols of consultation and making sure they're a fit, and then a quick treatment. And the end game is a lot of the admin and moving parts and spend on marketing and doing all the TikToks. We can take the load on that and allow providers just to do what they do best, and that's treating the patients and holding that relationship.
And how do you get paid?
So we'll have a licensing model. So you can kind of think of it as kind of a hybrid, model of, setting up a provider network, and we will capture these premium consumers and we will connect them to best-in-class providers, and then we'll have a fee schedule or licensing agreement that comes along with it.
With the physician?
Correct.
Does the patient pay you anything for the service?
The patient just has a flat fee.
To the doctor or
to the
to
doctor?
you?
To the doctor, yeah.
So you find the patient, you acquire the patient. In some cases, you obtain financing for the patient.
On behalf of the doctor, yes.
On behalf of the doctor, yeah.
Right.
And then you put the patient in front of the doctor. Basically, you get them there, and they're sort of ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock, yeah. So we, still early stages. So we're kind of in finishing phase 1 of 3 that will approach over the next probably 18 months.
3 different verticals?
3 different stages of just our rollout.
But right now it's True Nose?
We're just going to be very narrow in True Nose.
Okay.
We really like that niche in the nose because it's highly profitable for the doctors. One of the things that we solve for in the physician community or the injector community is that these providers, medical providers in aesthetics, they just hit these revenue kind of ceilings. They buy more equipment, they're spending all this money on marketing and ads, and at the end of the year, they're growing a little, but they're not growing a ton. So, really what it comes down to is two things. You have the cost to acquire a customer,
right,
CAC, and then you have lifetime value. Mm-hmm. And we think we can help improve on both of those. And the industry or the world is just changing so rapidly with all the technology advancements and AI and automation and machine learning and all these things. And then the industry is also evolving so much where, I was at AIS and you hear the, all the, finance folks come in and just talk about what a huge opportunity there is in the growth, whether the market is good or bad or indifferent, this market is likely going to keep growing. Mm-hmm. So, the question becomes, how can you make it a little simpler? And if we can do our part to acquire the customers and take them through more of the funnel, we can reduce customer acquisition cost. We can set up a long-term lifetime value, mm-hmm. and we can make it easier for the practices to grow their business.
That's really exciting. Now, when you mention AI, did I hear you right that the patient takes a picture of their own nose and then somehow they upload that and then AI helps them, and does it predict how they could look if they had the treatment? Is that what they're giving a look at?
Yeah, that's so right now we have, the first part of that is accurate as of today. So the patient can upload their photos and we have facial, analytics that can detect the nose and kind of categorize into 3 or 4 different categories that we can serve back, relevant results that will look and feel like that. What is interesting is the conversation on, do we want these patients to virtually try on new noses? It sounds like a fun and exciting kind of mousetrap, but is it setting the right expectation? Is it going to put us in a good or bad position once they get to you? And, I don't know. We have some work to do. And I think in this kind of next phase on rolling out these flagship locations, I think we'll get a lot of good feedback on what the patients want, what the doctors want. So right now it's about capturing that image, and we're collecting tons of great data on this consumer, and it's not just the nose. We'll be able to kind of set the foundation on what else needs to be treated. So a long-term strategy for TrueNose or TrueAesthetics is creating this patient for life, and looking for ways to optimize results with add-on services, whether it's skincare, laser, or energy device treatments, or other injectables.
Okay, I have many questions. So you have TrueAesthetics, and the first vertical is TrueNose.
You got it.
Do you know what the second vertical will be? Or do you know any of the other verticals? Maybe if you don't know the timing of which one's which.
No,
give me
sure.
an idea of some other true.
So TrueAesthetics, we will be very focused on TrueNose, and that will get us aligned with a best-in-class provider network. And then we have a vision to look at True Lips, and we could look at True Breasts or True Lipo or True Hair. And then that helps us expand the medical aesthetic space. And then to take it a step further, talking about other industries, but still kind of, aesthetic, we think the dental space, True Smile, for example, or getting into wellness, or vision, all of it, I think we can help kind of define or expand the meaning of aesthetics. Aesthetics, should be looking and feeling your best. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about, what's on the outside, but ultimately how that makes you feel on the inside, and everything else we can, do to create a really exciting customer experience.
And right now, how far along are you in this company? Do you have a sales staff? Do you? Where are you at?
It's early stage. So we just finished a proof of concept in the LA market. We've got great data on, kind of how our funnel is starting to look on, what kind of ad spend we need to put into a certain market to get X amount of leads, to have X amount of photos uploaded and consultations, and then what that means for the bottom line of the providers that we partner with. A couple of the cool data points was once we capture and bring them all the way through the funnel, when we book them with you as the provider, we have a 90% in-office conversion rate. So if they show up 90% of the time, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to have treatment.
That's impressive.
And that's really the value prop that we're trying to bring, is that we will do the marketing, we will do the education, we will vet the patients, and we will deliver them to you as our partner. And that's the partnership and value prop that we're trying to bring to the market.
Could you tell us a little more about the actual liquid nose job or non-surgical nose job? For those who haven't heard of it and so forth, there are a number of people have taken credit for it. I know years ago I used to inject saline just to give people an idea how their rhinoplasties may look, and then I injected collagen and Zyplast and Zyderm before we have the HAs and so forth. Could you walk us through what best practices looks like when people are doing these non-surgical rhinoplasties or nose jobs?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously you're very familiar with a traditional rhinoplasty and the surgical procedure and the associated downtime and some of the revisions, that follow. There is a lack of awareness that there is a injectable way to get similar results without all the downtime. So the best practices in our network, providers will be using filler products that are HA based and more or less temporary, that are injected. Obviously a liquid nose job, you're not going to reduce the size of a nose, and those are things that they cover, that our team covers, and we can, that might turn into a rhino lead. But a lot of people, the perception of their nose, if you've got a bump, you can add some filler above and below to kind of smooth things out, or to change the symmetry, or at least just to change the way that light is reflected, and gives the appearance of a much straighter, cleaner nose.
Okay.
And so it's a very simple treatment. Patients come in. It's about 15 minutes of the provider's treatment time. Obviously, they go through their kind of consultation piece, but patients are seeing off the table results. When you put up the mirror and the side mirror over here, like you have this emotional experience, which is incredible to be around. And to help kind of build that story out for the market, I think is really exciting, because you're really changing lives. And but yeah, it is a less threatening, easier, more fun way to get involved in aesthetics through the injectable business, and really kind of opens the whole constellation to aesthetics to this consumer that hasn't even ever been in a medical aesthetic clinic before.
And I would think it would lower the age too. It's much more affordable.
We're seeing, if you imagine, I mean, we're going digital first, so it's a lot of social, and that's going to bring down the age of the consumer, and they're coming in, to the aesthetic market through TrueNose, and have this, big upside on what they could do next to look and feel their best.
When these patients have their nose jobs done like this with filler, does the filler last forever, or is it like other fillers in the face and so forth, where they have to come back in a period of time, say 9 months, a year and a half? Various fillers have different durations. How does that work with the nose? Yeah,
so in the nose, I think most providers are, saying around a year to 2 years is the result. So what happens is the patient will come in and have their first treatment, and then they'll come back in around 60 to 90 days in for a touch-up.
Okay.
And that will get them a result that's going to last into a year to 18 months or 2 years. It really kind of depends on a lot of different factors on the patient. But yeah, it's a way that, it doesn't require quarterly treatment. Like a toxin, but it's not a one and done, and you're kind of stuck with this forever. So it allows consumers really to quote unquote try on a procedure, and if they love it, they can just every 18 months or 2 years they can come in and just keep treating, or if they don't, they can let it kind of wear off, and they're kind of back to square one, or in a and like if we have kind of, I don't know, buyer's remorse, like obviously there's ways to dissolve and, kind of, reverse it as well. So there's a lot of options and parameters that makes it really appealing to this consumer that might, before this think that medical aesthetics is hard to access or scary, or it's only surgical. This just opens up a whole nother conversation on how they can treat some of these, areas that they have concerns about.
Have you ever thought about doing a subscription model so a patient could pay a little bit every month rather than a big chunk right at the beginning?
We're going to start looking at that really closely. Obviously, I think it makes a lot of sense because, consumers, the younger consumers, they love the easy monthly payments.
Sure.
Right. And
well, don't we all, I think?
Exactly. I mean, yes.
Yeah, but you're right. Certainly the young people, but I think we all do. And I think
that's where
iPhone has proved that. Netflix has proved that. I can keep on going. BMW and Mercedes has proved that.
So
a subscription economy seems to be where we all are comfortable.
So I think there's ways to, that we can start or have an offering where it's a one-time treatment, but there's an easy path towards subscription or membership, and increasing the value for the consumer by maybe adding some skincare or a hydrofacial treatment.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Right. So then maybe it's
a TrueNose membership and throw in a hydrofacial.
Exactly.
Throw in some skincare.
Right. So you could have the patient could find us, engage with us, learn, get pre-qualified for TrueNose for, let's say, $100, $125 a month. And that's going to get their TrueNose treatment and the hydrofacial that comes with it, or however the doctor wants to structure it. And as there's companies out there that can help facilitate that. And what I've learned in this industry is that it's all about partnership and the network that you build. Working together, I think there's great opportunities for us to solve, making the patient, journey and experience exceptional, making the practices more successful, and ultimately getting a bigger valuation on their practice when it comes time to sell.
Interesting. Well, I would certainly encourage you to talk to Todd Watts at PatientFi and hear about not only PatientFi, but more importantly, Privy. He's been on the program. You may have seen his program. But Privy is a very, very effective and seamless and frictionless form of subscription services. I'd encourage you to chat with him.
I've been following, and they've done a great job on the PatientFi side, and then early stages for Privy, but it looks really exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Well, everything you're saying is very exciting. One of the questions I had was, are you going to limit the number of practices that you work with in a certain geographical area, or are you just going to sell it to everybody?
No, we're going to be very selective. So this is a niche treatment, and I think the biggest value we can bring is bringing this premium consumer to a premium network. So our goal is to this year go partner with one or two flagship TrueNose providers in each major market. So we will be, Texas and Southern California and Bay Area, New York, Miami, DC. They'll all be coming online this year, and that will be kind of our phase one of setting up like the kind of the centers of excellence and really starting to build out this like TrueAesthetics and TrueNose community.
Okay.
And then we can look at starting to expand from there. And that could be expanding the TrueNose network, and then also adding additional treatments and services under the TrueAesthetics umbrella as well.
So a patient in the Los Angeles area where we're at right now, they're interested in a non-surgical rhinoplasty. They hear about it, they respond to your marketing. You will have a limited number of physicians or offices that you work with that you'll send them to.
Yes. The goal is not to flood the market. We want to be very precise in who we partner with, and how we roll this out into specific markets. So yes, I think the patient will have options, but it's not gonna be super crowded. It's gonna be very niche up front.
Okay. Well, it's very exciting for sure. So what do you see in your crystal ball when you look into the future? If we're back together, we were together a couple years ago, and here we are, and you've got this new company, TrueAesthetics. What are we gonna see 2 or 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
It's interesting. I think you can look at this medical aesthetic space from a couple different vantage points, but I think we all know that we're still kind of in our infancy, and I think there's tremendous growth to be had. And then you look at all the technology and the advancements. So I think we're looking at a short period of time, 2, 3, 5 years, where companies can deploy things like AI and automation and advanced direct-to-consumer, e-commerce like tactics to really smooth out and reduce the cost to acquire customers, and ultimately bringing in more consumers to the space. So I think we're in a short period of time. I think we can really democratize the space and bring in more consumers from all demographics, and then make it easier from a seamless digital experience, and knowing your pricing and installment payments up front. So that's what I'm excited about, whether it's us or a combination of the entire space, really making aesthetics more accessible. That's what's going to grow the market, and that's what I'm excited about.
Excellent. So am I. It's a great time to be in aesthetics, isn't it?
It is. Fun time to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us today and for coming out from Kansas City. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I enjoy working with you, and I'm excited about your new endeavor, TrueAesthetics. It sounds very interesting and exciting to me.
Thank you, Grant.
Keep me in mind.
I appreciate it, and thank you so much for everything you do for our space. It's just technology of beauty. It's something that the community talks about on a regular basis, and I hope you guys continue to push forward. So
well,
thank you.
We enjoy doing it. We have a good time, and we get to know the movers and shakers of the beauty business. And today was no exception.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you every Tuesday on the Technology of Beauty, where, as you know, I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. Thank you.
Thanks,
Safe travels, Nick.
Appreciate it.